Hello everybody, welcome back to Yunus Cake Tips. Thanks for joining me. Today again, we are going back to basics and do something most essential in the caker's world, the sponge. So this will be good old basic classic sponge with no frills. Not too light, nor too heavy. Right in the middle, when you bite it, it is mouthful. It's not so fragile that you cannot use additional moisture, which I like to use always liquid sort of syrups into my sponges, on the sponges. It makes it another dimension into my layer cakes. And also, it doesn't have any bump on top, doesn't have sort of like top on top, so you have to remove. It is just nice level with the ring, what we're using, 50 millimeter. And then when you cut the slices, they're all equal and to build a nice layer cakes. You can make sponge with 3 basic ingredients, and you can call this, it is a sponge. Egg, sugar, and flour. Then comes all other additions. First the butter, then the cocoa powder, of course. You can use chocolate, you can use nuts, and so on. So today I will add only the butter into our basic sponge to build a strong foundation. Then you can build all your other ideas on top of that basic knowledge. Let's start with some mathematics. According to my experience and the learning in my early years, so I come up with this kind of 3 different boxes. All right, these boxes represent the light and the heavy, and right in the middle what we're going to do. And I keep the egg 500 grams on each box over here. I want to keep the egg as a volume in the same height. Only the flour and sugar and butter equalizer moving up and down to understand the light and the heavy textures, heavy mixtures, and then stay in the center that we make something optimum. All right. So if it's too light, it will be sort of like a bit more crumbly, and it will be a little bit heavy, a little bit sort of like difficult to deal with that. And it will be, if it's too heavy, it will be too easy to get dry, etc. So the center is like a nice and sort of optimum medium. As I said, it's not too heavy, it's not too light, so we can also moisturize the sponge very nicely. And let's talk about like the sugar and flour amount. In the lightest example here, 500 gram eggs, 250 gram sugar, 250 gram flour. And sugar and flour, most of the case, is a very similar, very close to each other, and it could be the same amount. All right, that means 50% of the eggs has to be sugar and flour, sugar and or flour. All right, and of course the total of the sugar and flour is same amount of the egg. All right, over here is sugar and flour total is more than the egg, and over here sugar and flour total twice the amount of egg. All right, and then the butter is almost like the measurement. You can take the sugar, half amount of the sugar, it can be the butter, but also butter on its own can be up and down. All right, so that means what I have over here, I don't want to worry about this one, that one. I like to stay in the middle here. 500 gram egg, 350 gram sugar, 350 gram flour, but part of the flour is about 1/3 is replaced with the starch. So the reason is to addition starch with the flour, it makes the texture finer. So the holes inside smaller. All right, and then the 175 gram butter, half of the sugar. All right. So there's one more ingredient over here, which is the air, which we cannot count, we cannot put as a gram over here, and we cannot write any amount over here, but it determines with how we're going to do as a method to put enough air inside and then keep the air inside. All right. So we will have 2 different methods. One is the warm and cold mixture, which is the sugar mixed with egg on the double boiler, melt down into the egg. So the sugar is dissolved inside the egg to make the mixture a bit more like a stickier, and then after that the foaming develop very easily. All right, it doesn't really difficult to make the whipped egg. All right, so that is essential also when we're doing that. When we're placing this one here, it should not touch the water, and then water has to be boiled first and then stop the boiling, getting in the simmering sort of heat, and then keep it on top, constantly mixing without sort of like building a kind of cooked egg over there. And then you reach about 40 degrees, you will see that the texture will be like a bit sort of like a saucy and a bit more sticky, and also the sugar is melt inside. All right, so that is what we're going to do today. Another method especially if you have small recipes, you can make a cold mixture. In that case, you have to separate the egg yolk with egg white. Part of the sugar you put in the egg yolk, part of the sugar you put in the egg white. And after that, you whip the egg yolk and the egg white separately and build everything together accordingly. So that is for sort of like small amounts possible. But if we do like let's say in the big production, we never do that. We will do always this one, the cold and warm and cold method, because it's much more straightforward, much more easier. So that's why I like to show you today only that method. This one we only talk about it. All right. So ingredients here. That recipe give me 2 rings, almost a level, just almost on the top here, to 50 millimeter high, and then 250 millimeter wide, which is the normal ordinary cake size, 250, 25 centimeter. So I like to make 1 sponge with you. That's why I take this ingredients, half of this. 250 gram eggs, which is, you see 5 eggs over here. It may be just about a little bit more than 250, but doesn't matter, all right? Normally, I never say 5 eggs, because if it's 500 gram eggs is 10 eggs of 50 gram, it could be 7 eggs or 12 eggs, because there is eggs like 70 gram, there's eggs like 40 gram. And then it will be always good to put on the scale and find out how many gram is this. Because when you look at all the recipes, most of the recipes says put 5 egg, but never say on the side how many gram is the egg. That's why I put it on the scale. All right. So what do we have? 5 egg, which is a 250 gram egg, and we will put half of this, 175 gram sugar from here inside there. We're building up, we're heating up to 40 degrees. After that, we have 100 gram flour over there, and then 75 gram starch over there. All right. That means 175. So we also have that half of 175 gram butter is 87.5 gram of butter we will use. All right. So that is all measured already. Only I have to add the sugar inside here, and let's start doing it. Okay, while this is just about boiling, I like to add the sugar inside here. 175 gram of sugar directly to the egg. Under 75. Okay. This is almost boiling, so I just want to make it like lower down to 2. Microwave 2 or 3. We'll see. And then put this over here and start mixing. You cannot just go and answer your calls at the moment. You have to do this one constantly, otherwise you have an omelette here. The egg will start cooking at 60 degrees, but if you don't adjust this one properly, it will get 60 very, very quickly. All right. So as I touch over here, I can feel it. The grainy sugar is still not melted, so I like to have that one complete melted and a little bit more than that. Just heat up a little bit to about 40 degrees, so the whipping will be quite easy to do it after that. So I'm going to continue doing this by measuring. You don't have to watch me doing this. At the moment it's about 25 degrees, so I will do that one till it's 40 degrees. Okay, as you see that it's a bit more like a sticky, like syrupy, and then I just measure it. It's about 41 degrees, it's just right. So I'm just stop doing this, take it out, and then switch off that. And then we don't need this one anymore. Just put it over here. So we have a bit more space over here. Now this is ready to whip. Before I do this, I like to prepare my ring. I like to show you how to do this. So I always use the aluminum foils for my rings, because I don't use the cake pans. I use these rings. It's very practical. And I just have to do this. Aluminum foil is always good because it listens what you want it to do. Papers can just fold back, but aluminum stays as you're folding and as you're squishing, it stays nice and intact. All right. So once this one happens, so approximately, and then you squish it to the like much more tighter edge. See that? That is a bit sort of like loose. I just close this one up. That is nice. All right, done. All right, let's whip now our egg. I will use also a little bit of vanilla powder inside, but not right away, because you may use sometimes like vanilla essence or something like this, but if the essence has got oil inside, it will affect the egg. So that's why during the whipping, of course, so that's why whatever that you put flavors, I will put it later on when the foaming is finished. All right, so let's do this. All right. So when you're whipping that, you see that there's large bubbles are developed. So once the egg is finished, I will show you how to measure that when you stop. So let me continue for a while. I'll get back to you before I finish. There is a lot of difference if you whip the egg without heating up. It doesn't come to that quickly in a foaming, nice big volume. If you heat it up with the sugar melted, it's always cased very nicely, foam it up. Here. Okay. So it's ready there. So when I do this, so like when I do this, it stays almost like it doesn't level right away. So that is actually the way that how I want to whip. All right. So that is done. So let's add a little bit of vanilla here. This is like vanilla powder. Okay. Doesn't need much to do this. And now what we're doing now is we're putting the flour inside, but not everything, just a little bit first. All right. After that, we're using a rubber scraper like this. Now it's to be very gentle, right? If you put all the flour together, you may just left some lumps inside, all right? A little bit more. See, the flour is like separating itself nicely over the surface. A little bit more. One more time, will it then? Very nice. Okay, everything. All right. Now, we have to add this butter into that texture. So if we put this one right away inside here, we will mix it. It will go down first. We will mix it so many times more to inflate the whole aerating inside. So what I like to do, I'm going to put quite generously into here some of this mixture. All right. This one have a pause. After that, we mix this one. Look what happened. It's like a mayonnaise. The egg mixed with the because of the egg yolk has lecithin inside, it mixed with the fat, with butter nicely. It becomes a nice saucy mixture. This will mix with the remaining of the egg much easier than just pouring the butter inside. All right. That's it. All right, now complete the incorporating here. Almost there. That's it, I'm happy already. my oven inside the kitchen is ready for 190 degrees. All right, so let me confirm with you when it's baked, how long I kept it inside after baking. All right, so this is just right for one ring. Okay, this one will go to oven now. So I will bake it and come back and show you how this looks like after baking. So I just take it out from the oven. It was 190 centigrade degrees and I kept it exactly 30 minutes. So for this amount, for this height of the sponge, will be just right. So it is nice and level. I can cut beautiful 3 slices out of it. So if you're calculating like you're going to make layer cakes with the 3 layers of sponge inside with the maybe some thin cream in between, that will be then just right amount for one full cake. With the cream, it will reach the height about maybe 55 or 60 millimeter height. So that's quite hot now. I don't want to touch to cut it out. So basically what I do, I lift it up and I put my knife on just on the edge like this and holding in the hand like vertically, and after that remove push the knife on the side of the ring by just moving that the ring in my hand, so it will just drop off and then take the aluminum foil off. This is the one I baked it before, so I cut 1 slice already. I want to cut another 2 slices over here. It's nice beautiful sort of texture here. So as I said, when we're cutting like this, see, it cuts very nicely right in the center. So it will be just nice, perfect thickness of 3 sponge. Doesn't sort of like fall apart and just right. All right. Okay. Let's put it back this one again here, and I'll wait till then nice and cold. All right. So we have done now our basic sponge. Now we can think about what else we can do with that. About 10 to 15% cocoa powder you can add to the sponge to make a sort of like chocolate sponge with cocoa powder. But only have to do like you have to reduce the flour exact same amount of cocoa powder you put in. So if you say 300 gram flour in the recipe, you have to put 30 to 50 gram cocoa powder, but you have to reduce the 30 to 50 gram of flour also from the recipe, so it replaces the same amount. Okay. So melted chocolate you can't just put inside the sponge like that. It will not gonna mix, but you can add the chocolate into butter to make it like a soft ganache. Then you can fold it in just like you do with the butter. So no problem at all. And then if you want to add some nuts, for example, into the sponge, just the toasted ground nuts will be nice. You don't have to reduce anything from the flour because the nut doesn't have a gluten. It doesn't affect the sort of like a texture of the sponge. If you want to do also like much more intense flavor of the nuts, you want to add it to the sponge. What you do, you have for example, walnut works very well. A ground walnut with milk. You make it like a sloppy mixture, put on the pan, reduce it down to like a bit thicker, creamy situation, and you fold it into the sponge, which is beautiful. And then you can also add some, for example, sponge crumbs. Like if you have oak cuts, just dry them on the shelf. Make them in the sort of like a grounded crumb situation, and then you're folding into sponge. This is a very nice way of like using off the offcuts again into the new fresh sponge. That is what we have practiced in the past. I haven't seen any problem with that. So let's do now a strawberry cream yogurt cake. So strawberry yogurt cream cake with the sponge, and but I will do that on my next video, of course, together with you. So, but for now, that is all for today. Thanks for your time that you spent with me today. God bless you all. Until to my next video. Bye for now.